Good? Sound good? All right, yo. Let's think this podcast, episode 94. George, Ryan, Greg, back in the building. Special guest on the line with us today. Somebody, one thing that we like to do on the podcast is actually talk about people who have some type of impact and influence in sneaker community. Nobody just fooling around on YouTube and other nonsense, but somebody who's actually putting stuff on our feet. We're talking. We're talking to Deon Point of Concepts. Who's creative director? Is that the title?
Yeah, that's what they give me. Yeah,
that's what they give you.
That's what they call him. That's what they call him.
When you get to that level, it gets glorified. They got to say something when they introduce you. So when you give them business cards.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I know you're super busy and. I'm sure you could be doing anything right now, but we definitely appreciate, especially being under the weather right now. We definitely appreciate you talking to us.
And we appreciate you giving us. And we appreciate you giving us some of the most fire collaborations that we have in all of our closets too.
Hey, oh
man, y'all are too nice, man. What is this, a paid sponsorship?
Oh no, but
y'all supposed to pay us.
No, we're definitely in the market though.
Hey man, I sent the check. If you're gonna keep talking that,
no. Well,
I appreciate it.
We're gonna get to that a little bit later, but one of the things, like I said, this is Deon Point, creative director of Concepts, and for those who might not be familiar, Ryan has already kind of touched on just a little bit about collaboration, but we're talking about When Pigs Fly, we're talking about pistachios, we're talking about lobster pack, we're talking about, are you allowed to say, I see it on a post that you made and you said legally you can't say Kennedy. Is that true?
Yeah, so I mean we could probably touch base on that at some point, but
right.
for the most part, my whole basis of what I do is kind of especially for the brand, is immersed in like storytelling. So I don't really like to do anything that I said like a kid can go on, like ID and kind of design himself, because the majority of the time that kid's probably 99% more talented than myself. So I have to find like my end, and my end was kind of, figuring out a story and something that kind of kept it within the parameters of me to not like just pick a few colors and go crazy. So what I'm getting to though is oftentimes when we start with the inception of something to when it gets done, as it starts to close up and you button the seams and get everything kind of airtight, the naming thing comes about, and you'll approach the brand and they'll say, well, pitch us some names and we'll get it approved through legal. Back in the day, I say early 2000s, it wasn't so strict because it was more or less as long as you didn't do anything like the Heineken or, the Kruger, you really weren't getting sued. Now, it's just taken on a whole new life because the sneaker, culture is so big and everybody wants a piece of it. So they see a name like Nike, New Balance, Adidas, whoever, they're like, hey, shit, we can get a check off this. So they'll sue your ass and without, without any remorse whatsoever. So the Kennedy, the reason why it was named that initially was because our creative studio was actually on JFK Street. Frankie was working on the idea, and I was kind of fine-tuning it with him. And, truth be told, we didn't really have a name at that point. We were just kind of mocking some shit up. Then when we started diving into the nautical flags and all that stuff, it was like, oh, cool. But how are we going to pitch this? We're lobster guys. We already did that successfully. We had a couple New Balance that had some kind of basis storylines behind it, and we wanted to continue that because we felt like that was kind of our niche. So when we started thinking about it, that name actually came after the fact. And then when we reapproached it to do this, we had discussed doing it on a 997, and just as kind of a homage play to what got us here, because that shoe, I think we did 350 to maybe 500 pair back then, and a lot of people didn't get their hands on them, and that's why it was such high market value at the time. But people always had asked, and I'm not a 999 guy, so I was kind of like, let's reappropriate it. We'll put on 997. And they was like, cool, but we're reintroducing the 999, this time made in U.S., so we felt like that's a cool story. So when you're partnered with somebody like that, of that magnitude, especially New Balance, obviously you wanna appease them as much as possible, as long as it doesn't deter what you're initially doing. So when we asked to do the shoe again, they were like, "Word, but one condition, we can't refer to it as a Kenny." We already couldn't before. The kind of sneaker magazines that dubbed it that back in the day, but this time there was absolutely no way of getting around that.
So I mean,
and that happens a lot.
It definitely makes sense that if you're taking maybe something that's copyrighted from a movie or a brand or something like that, but is it really because of the is their family a copyrighted thing? Like the family name?
To be honest, that's a question for the lawyers. I mean, you'd be amazed at what does, like, okay, so we're dropping something, I think, in a week or two, the Lake Havasu, we threw around like 8 or 9 names of that. And to be clear, I want to be very honest. I don't give a fuck about names. That's not like really my thing. I think the sneaker community, it's kind of cool to let them pick and choose what they want to call something and see what sticks. Just because, at the end of the day, it's all about the consumer. So it's just something we have to do legally because it's bound to the boxes. And also when we're sending emails back and forth, we need something to refer to it as. So that it just kind of, alleviates some of the pressure of going back and forth and the guesstimating and all that stuff. So that's why we do it. But a lot of things get shot down. And more importantly than the names on my side, a lot of the stories get shut down. I've been talking with kids on IG as much as I can to try to explain certain things, and oftentimes the stories that go to press are just completely wrong. Like the the Rival Pack one I did, the 997 for New York. It was referred to as the Empire State, or what was it? Statue of Liberty. Excuse me, Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And I mean that was like so way far off, but it took me, years of that coming out to be able to actually correct people, because initially I thought the story was so good, I just wasn't allowed to say it legally. So oftentimes I'll go to my own Instagram and try to do it, even though it's not affiliated with Concepts so much. I mean, I guess that's, it kind of is, but I get a little bit more freedom, but Concepts as a whole are not allowed to say certain things. Because we're legally bound under contract. So we might have a great story that'll kind of make you actually even want to buy the shoe, and we won't be able to tell it because of legal ramifications.
So with the story of that pack, because I loved both of them. I think I like the Boston one a little bit more. I own both of them.
You own both?
Yeah, I own both the Boston and the New York.
Oh, okay.
You're the guy that bought them. That's awesome.
I'm that guy that was clicking refresh on Concepts that morning that bought both of them.
Man, we owe you a T-shirt or something. So the story was when I opened in New York. Excuse me, when we I never say I, so I'm just like groggy. When we opened in New York, we wanted to do something kind of attaching both names, Boston and New York. Of course, we wanted to come hat in hand, and we were very humbled at being able to enter, what I consider the mecca of all things, NYC. So part of that, though, is when we're talking baseball, we're talking football or sports, I hate New York. So what do we do? I have to make a shoe for New York, and, I have no love at all for them in the sports world. So we're talking about doing something inspired by their team. You think of pinstripes, navy and white. It's already been done. Yeah. Jordan Brand has done a few things with Jeter, and it's just kind of tired and washed. Like I wasn't into it, so it took me a few months to kind of find a story that would make sense. And when we were Googling it and checking out and doing all this like kind of backstory, I found that I think back in like '57. You have to correct me because I don't know exactly the year. There was an officer shot in the line of duty, and when he was the first officer shot in the line of duty, and when he received his Medal of Honor, it was actually created by Tiffany & Co. Yeah, out of like this, like I think it was a like some kind of silver medal, and it was in the logo shape of an N and a Y together. That Medal of Honor actually went on 10 years later to become what is now the most iconic logo in all of baseball, which is the New York Yankees logo. So I thought it was cool doing it Tiffany colors, kind of paying homage to them for doing that, but we had to kind of steer away from it exactly from the Pantone because, again, you can get sued. And then the logo was a little kind of chalky back then. They cleaned it up, reappropriated it, and now you have your Yankees logo. So what was more important for me in that story is being able to tell actual Yankee fans that I hate more about their own culture than they knew. So that was awesome. Exciting for me, and that's like true Boston, like stick it to you, go fuck yourself type of shit. So that's where we were with that. And but truth be told, the shoe came out amazing. I loved it. I was a little bit hesitant. Because I know, Nicky's doing his thing on the diamond side. I didn't want people to think like we were biting or copying, but I think with the story and everything that was going on, it kind of tied together nicely. Whereas the Boston one was a little more literal. Well, the story, like Fenway Park, Green Monster.
Yeah, that story you just told, I've never heard that. Yeah. Like that. That's a great story.
That is.
Like that story is something that
I got those on deck. I got one for Pick Fly too. So.
Well, because it's funny.
Everything we do, I got a story for, man. It's just how long we have.
We can stay here until tomorrow. Until your cough medicine kicks in.
Yeah. Well, going back, obviously we want to touch on sneakers a lot more. We got a lot of questions, but I read your interview with Sneaker Freaker and how you got your foot in the door at Concepts. Can you touch on that just a little bit? Because there's a lot of our listeners who, I think when I read it, I said, this is where experience trumps a paycheck at some point, because you're going to get a paycheck one day. You just got to get your foot in the door and willing to work hard for it. So how did that all process get started?
Yeah, I don't know the interview per se, but I mean, my initial start, just quick background, I grew up single-parent household. My mom really was dirt poor. We didn't have much, and sneakers obviously weren't a thing back in, like, the 80s or so. It was kind of like, you just wore them. You had maybe one pair of shoes, and you didn't really even keep them clean. Like, those are the shoes you played in. Those are the shoes, like, you went to school in, whatever. And then, rap started coming about, and basketball started becoming a little bit more prominent, especially in Boston, where we had, the Celtics, who had, an immense rivalry with the Lakers and so on. So we were obviously big sports towns. So sneakers for me, they kind of started there. I think the first pair of shoes I got were like Legends or something. They were fucking awful. They were like white and navy blue. I didn't even know what they were. I just knew they were Nikes. That's how you kind of talked about shoes back then. I was like, I got a pair of Nikes, I got a pair of Adidas. Nobody was naming names. Fast forward to me, working as soon as I get my worker's permit, because that's what they used to do back then. I don't know if they still do that, but I think I was like 14. I started making money like busboying or whatever, and I spent all my money on shoes, like clothes, but really shoes. And at that point, I was a freshman in high school. I had 30 pair of kicks, which was like a lot. In my school, that was it. I was a guy. And then I started hustling a little bit, doing my thing, got more and more. And then I started hustling even more and more, and I got more and more. So I had amassed quite a large collection of shoes even back then, and I found Concepts by default just because I used to go to Nord and A-Life and all these stores, and one kid had like the Acorns on, the Acorn Air Forces, and I'm like, damn, where'd you get those? Like we was at like a some sort of event. He was like, I got them at this store in Cambridge, and that was the first time I ever heard someone refer to anything in Massachusetts, because usually it's like New York. That's what you said. When people were kind of sweating you for something, you just like, I got it in New York, and that was it. Because New York's such a wide open place, you didn't have to even dial in where. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a brush off, but it was, it saved you the time and hassle of explaining and blowing up your spot.
That's just everywhere. I remember in California and here in Arizona, if somebody had something nobody knew what it was, you just say, I got that joint in New York. I got it from New York.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Because you don't want to blow your spot.
Right.
And part of the reason Concepts remained such like a hidden gem for those years, you keep in mind, we were open in 96. Mm. So we were open outside of Supreme, we were open before anybody else. You know, I think Packers been open for like a million years, but outside of that, you know, like we were already cooking. It's just people wanted to keep it a secret because Boston Deuce is so, you know, they didn't want to give that up. So it was hidden in the back of like a mom and pop store. Walked in, I copped a few pair of kicks. They had like the Year of the Horse back then, some Biotech dunks, and what I'd never seen before were these Nike SBs, and I'm like, well, what are those? Why are they in a glass case? And the kid was like, well, these are, you know, the Nike SB first series. This is the New York, the chocolate, Danny Super, so on. And I'm like, those are different. All right, why don't I do the New York ones or the chocolates or whatever? And he was like, yeah, they're like 600. I'm like, are you out your fucking mind? Like, I didn't know what they were. And at that time, keep in mind, suggested retail was suggested retail. When you had gold like that, you kind of dictated the price. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a reseller's market back then. It was just the sneaker stores were the resellers. And over a few years, what had happened was SB in particular issued a newsletter to all their accounts like, yo, everybody that's selling these has to chill. You guys are going way too wild. While it is suggested retail, we don't want you going over a certain price. And I think it was like around $200 or something back then. So anyways, I found the store and I fell in love with it. I was making a ton of money. I was doing construction in the laborers union just to kind of keep everything legit on the side to counteract what I was doing elsewhere. And I was like, yo, can I work here? Like, can I work here on the weekends? Because I became tight with them guys. Normally what I do is they would just save me a size 9 and everything. Like anything that came in, they knew what I wanted. And I had a Deon stash there. I'd go pick it up because I live like 40 minutes out. Me and my crew would run in there and buy everything that we could get our hands on. Every now and then, though, you got to keep in mind there were celebrities and people stopping in that found out who the store was. And if they were size 9, I might get jacked. So, you know, if such and such came in, this guy, they'd be like, oh, you had to sell your shoe. And I'm like, man, you can't keep doing this. And I'm like, why not start working on Saturdays for free? And, you know, I just want to get shoes. You don't have to pay me. I just want to be able to buy the shoes. And they were like, if that's what you want to do, for sure. And I'm like, yeah. So I was doing construction during the week, and then I'll come work there on the weekends. Spongy at that time was considering opening his own thing, Lace, which is still standing now, still a great shop. And, you know, he was getting ready to leave. So the owner came to me and was like, yo, you really seem to enjoy this. Why don't I offer you a job full time and you can give up your construction job? And I'm like, man, listen, I really appreciate it. I love the sneaker, you know, world, and I love what I think concepts could be, but by no means can I give up this job. I got a kid on the way. I got great benefits, and you're offering me, I think at that time he was offering me maybe half of what I was making, you know, and I had a ton of bills and things going on, so it wasn't really in my best interest to do so. But I did love sneakers, and I loved what I thought concepts could be. That was the most important part of this whole, like, me rambling. So I said, you know, I came home, talked to my BM, and I was just like, fuck it, I think I'm going to try it. If you're willing to support me and you think I have what it takes, do everything. Because at that time, I already knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to start doing collaborations. I knew the brands I wanted to go after. You know, it was just the mindset of being able to take this leap of faith, and I needed someone to reassure me that I could do it, because I didn't have that complete confidence in myself that, you know, this place would understand me kind of coming in, doing a complete 360, moving things around and shaking it up. And, you know, they did. She said, yeah. And, you know, the rest is history.
So you started there in 2003, if I remember correctly from the article?
I think it was like, loosely like maybe 2002, 2003.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look at the shoes that were being sold back then. But yeah, I remember distinctly, I think it was Year of the Horse. It just came out. The first one, I think they only did one. Yeah, when I first started like being over there. I'm trying to think of some of the other shoes. Those were a long time ago. But yeah, like right around the first series of SBs dropped, I was shopping there, and I started working there not too soon thereafter.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I remember my first experience, I guess, with Concepts was the Lobsters came out 07?
08. 08? Oh, May of 08, yeah. Okay. And then 09 was the blue.
So I remember I had a buddy out there for the Blue Lobster release. He was like, out there doing something at Harvard, and I remember, like, we've been obviously big sneakerheads since high school, like Jordans and all that stuff, and he calls me and he's like, yo, I'm out here, like, looking at the campus at Harvard. He's like, but there's this little spot named Concepts, and I'm standing in line, and I'm like the 25th person in line here, and they're releasing this dunk called the Blue Lobster, and they're $90. Do you want me to pick you up a pair? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he brought them home, and they were like one of the dopest shoes that I had ever like seen, like as far as SB releases go at that time. And so like from then on, like I had always gone to your guys' website and kind of followed like what kind of was going on. But just even the story of how the Blue Lobster release came about, because I mean, whose idea was it? Like, obviously, like you're very into storytelling, so I'm assuming it was all your idea to do the warning signs and start posting. And like it kind of started a little bit of like pandemonium throughout the area, right?
Yeah, so the initial LOBSTER, I tell everybody, was this kid Rob Hepler who went on to start Buscemi brand thereafter, and I hated it. I told everybody that I thought it was dumb. First of all, I don't even eat seafood. Secondly, like I didn't like the idea of a food thing following up some of the success of Dunks prior. You know, Jeff had did the staple. I'm like, I get it. It's Pigeons, New York. Like, it's a fixture. And we're doing a lobster. Like, that's how we want to be representing ourselves. Like, I just thought it was odd. I have no respect for crustaceans. And I just was like, this man. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's just Boston. I mean, I like to, you know, hold it in high regard. And, you know, here we are. Now we just picked the unofficial mascot. So, you know, we started marking it up and we worked on it. Rob, I'd love to. I know he probably has it on his Instagram, some of the first drawing he ever did of it. I think he drew it with like literally like colored pencils, and you know, to bring that to life, it was pretty funny. But I started to like it a lot. So when we were working on that, is when I really started to find my like kind of niche as like a storyteller, and I started digging in a little deeper, and I was like, oh my God, they have Blue Lobsters. I never even heard of this, and they were like 1 in a million, and I called Nike and I'm like, I know we're trying to finalize this red one, but I really think if we could do this blue one, it would be sick as well. And they were like, well, you know what we'll do? I'll make a pair for me. I'll make a pair for you. I'll make a pair for, you know, my boss. So I was like, fuck it. That's cool with me. That actually never happened. In about 6 months after the red one came out, they were so impressed with what we had did that they were like, yo, we're going to give you the green light to do it again. Let's just make sure y'all show up to bat and, you know, you're ready to swing. So the pressure was really on us to like get rid of the sophomore jinx. I know you guys, being sneaker connoisseurs and such, I've seen people that they've come out with 1 or 2 dope shoes and then it just progressively gets worse. You know, maybe they hit a wave for a second and then it died out or whatever. They just had the right timing. We didn't want that to happen. So what we did was we actually went to a creative agency in Boston, and we worked with them. They do all the packaging for, I think, Hasbro and Star Wars. They're basically essentially a toy company. We went and sat with them through a mutual friend, and we kind of showed them what we have done in the past. Because they worked with us on the red a little bit too. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Okay. But this time around, we were like, yo, we want to really like top what we did for the red. The red was kind of fairly easy. It was lobster bags and in the like lobster traps and such like that. We want to take it up a notch. You know, they were totally on board. So they kind of helped us bring the vision to life, because at that time we were such a small company. We didn't have the money to go and outsource all these things. Like when we're doing a package or a box, oftentimes it gets costly. So for like, if you're talking Holy Grail, for me to do those cement boxes, they cost me $135 each. Jesus. So we lost money on those. We lost money on the Japanese puzzle boxes, and we lost money on the Blue Lobster boxes because that cutout kind of hazmat styrofoam box, even though it sounds simple, for you to do anything less than like 10,000 of those, the price is through the roof. So it's pretty astronomical. So that actually cost us, I think, close to $80 a piece. Wow. Because they had to make a special mold, engrave our name in it. And, you know, keep in mind, this was 2009. I mean, I don't know how things are now. But we still run into that problem a lot. There's a lot of boxes I've tried to do where it's just way too expensive. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of how it came about. And when we started doing these fake signs and we started posting these viral videos of like a dog getting eaten, we did it completely joking around, but we wanted to build it up. You know, we had found out what Twitter was. It was fairly new, so we used that to our advantage to create this kind of viral campaign that caught on. A couple kids were hip to it, though, because when we were running the Twitter account, we were following like Dave's Quality Meats and Supreme and other like-minded sneaker stores instead of following like science labs and shit like that. So some kids are like, wait a minute, I don't think the scientist that you guys created is real, because he kept saying, you know, Blue Lobsters are taking over. And it was just meant to be like this, you know, over-the-top kind of weird viral campaign that would just get people on edge. And you know, we planned on announcing the shoe, I think, a week before it dropped, which is something that really didn't exist back then. Mm-hmm. But what had happened was City Hall got wind of it and heard about these signs, and people were genuinely nervous. Like, people were like, I don't know if I can bring my kid to the beach. I saw a video the other day in Marshfield of, like, you know, someone getting pulled in, some kid's dog getting bit by these lobsters, and we noticed it was getting out of hand, and we had already got a cease and desist from, like, City Hall from the first lobster campaign to not hang posters around. So we didn't want it coming back to us. So luckily enough, we avoided, you know, getting hit over the head too much. But yeah, the campaign kind of spun out of control and went a little bit more viral than we had hoped. But it was fun, man. I mean, looking back at it now, I think that's the one that actually cemented who we are, even more so than the Red Lobster.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, we do an episode every single week, and every single week we do top 10 lists all the time.
Yes.
And we've done top 10 collaborations. We've done top 10, you know, New Balances, top 10 SBs we've done. And, you know, clearly when pigs fly, we consider, at least two of us in here, I think, consider when pigs fly
the greatest dunk of all time.
The greatest dunk of all time. And
really,
I do.
I have mine on my feet right now. Like, it is, and the greatest dunk, at least the greatest dunk high of all time.
And all of this is all documented. You know, we're not just blowing smoke because we're talking to you. This is
all right. That's amazing.
And you know, it's funny because
I don't wear any of that stuff. Just so you know, I don't wear any. I've maybe wore them like to a release here and there, but I don't wear.
Not even like Hyannis or like. Not even like Hyannis or luxury goods or like any rosés, none of that stuff?
Nah.
Really?
Nah,
well, you know what? I kind of
I don't know why.
I kind of figured you didn't, only when I saw you on Full Size Running, you were wearing off-white Prestos, and I'm like,
yeah.
We got the creative director of Concepts on a show wearing not anything he is a part of, you know?
Yeah, my boss hates it, man. I just, you know, as long as y'all love it, I'm happy. You know, I guess like one thing with me, and the reason why I've been behind the scenes for so long is because I want it to be about the brand more so than myself. So I go into it like hat in hand, super humble. I'm not in love with myself. I don't think I'm doing anything with this brand that, you know, a million kids out there can do. So I mean, if there's anybody listening out there, the one thing I would want them to take from it is if they believe in it enough and they want to go chase it and find it, I'm sure, like you said earlier, that things will eventually click. It's just the problem is people want the fame and they want the notoriety and the Instagram likes and all that shit. Like, that's all irrelevant, because we have shoes that we put, you know, we'll get however many thousands of likes on the shoe and we'll sell 3 of them. And I'm not even talking Concepts collab. It could be any brand, you know, that's out in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And then we have shoes that get, you know, a few hits here and there and we sell out of them. So, I mean, that world, people weigh too heavily on that. And I think, when you grow up and that's kind of the way that you become popular, it also kind of inhibits your creativity a little bit. So for the guy that really wants to get out there and thinks he can design shoes and do whatever the fuck he wants, I would say just like, you know, dive into your work, get so immersed in it that that's all you can do, and I'm sure good things will come of it. But it's not going to happen on Instagram, you know, or whatever the fuck is the thing.
That's funny you say that, because, you know, a lot of people do make that, you know, that mistake by believing the internet, you know, as far as like likes and comments and things like that. You'll see
is real life.
You'll see something that's, you know, I guess a GR or something that's, you know, I don't want to say regular, but you'll just see something and you'll see the most comments that are like, these are fire, must cop. Oh, definitely we'll get these. And they sit and they make it to Kicks Deals and they make it to all these other sites. And it could be thousands and thousands of likes and things like that. So, I would understand, it's funny because a lot of these creators like yourself will say they don't pay attention to the comments and stuff. And I guess you really can't, because if you get too immersed in what people are saying on the internet and Instagram, your creativity will put you in your mind that you're doing just great, and you'll feel that.
Oh, I do like the hypebeast comments though a lot. I read those all the time. I read everybody's. It could be about fucking, I don't know, whoever the fuck, Lil Yachty's fucking new single. I read all of them when I get the time because I check hypebeast once a week. That's kind of the hypebeast and sneaker news. I do some of the sneaker blogs, but I don't check them all because then I start to get in the mindset of wanting to copycat and mimic and follow. I'd like to just kind of coast through in my own creative process. But I do love the comments. So when I'm bored or like, say I'm on a conference and I got nothing to do, I'll read those comments all day. I think some of them kids have, I know they're on there. I think they call it trolling or whatever, but I know they're just doing that, but some of those are great. But I do want to tell you about your When Pigs Fly real quick since you touched on it.
Cool.
So there was a shoe that we were doing. It was actually it looked like a cop shoe, a cop uniform. So it was quite a few hues of blue, a little bit of gold on there. Typical kind of like state trooper, get up. And what we did was on the bottom of the sole, it was going to have these red and blue police lights, kind of like see-through clear bottom with this kind of red and blue kind of like seeping through the bottom. It looked pretty sick, but what got caught up when we were actually making it was we tried to sneak it through Nike, where once you skated it and broke it apart, there was this pink pig suede underneath, and that didn't go over too well. So that got shut down about let's say we were close to finalizing. The shoe had gotten done over. We had did like some donut shit, some sprinkles, and people were like, nah, and then we're like, we'll do the cop thing, and underneath will be this pink pig suede. And obviously the pun there is pretty obvious.
Right.
Once they asked us for a reasoning behind it, because Nike, as big of a company as they are, they're very hands-on, so they like to know everything, and they need to know what the purpose is for everything. So,
like, when you're that big, you don't like bad press, man. That's nah. So that
they're like, bro, we're not doing this. We want to do it. Do you want to change the color to like purple? And then, we started talking about that. But then what happens is, again, like these legal restrictions are a real thing. So we couldn't do purple because purple's the color of a bruise. So that's like police brutality. And we tried to do red, and red is, it maybe could be blood or misconstrued as this. So I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like this is how this shit works. So, what will start as a creative idea will like kind of blossom into something else. So finally they're like, you know what? We got to stay away from this altogether. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be cool. I think we were even using like carbon fiber on it. The shoe was pretty dope. So we had 3 days to come up with a shoe, and we're sitting in this hotel suite with my Nike rep at the time, my man Will, and he was like, it's just a bummer. Like, we can't kind of just have fun with this. It's not meant to be, vicious or anything like that, or malicious. And it just was supposed to be fun. I was like, yeah, I know, man. And I forget what had happened, but something was said where maybe he said something to me, and I was like, yeah, like When Pigs Fly, and like they'll let us do something, and I'm like, yeah, When Pigs Fly or whatever. And oddly enough, in the suite of the hotel, in this room, there's just this big picture over my head of a fucking flying pig and like 3 other pigs flying behind it. So he was like, yo, would you want to do this? And I'm like, what? Like, base a shoe off a saying? Like, I don't even understand it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would we do that? And he was like, nah. And we started, we were drinking, like, we're throwing shit around, and I don't know if you guys know, but I love to drink. So that's really my creative process. Like I get a couple sips in me, and then we start diving in. So I was like, yo, I love it. He was excited, man. I was building off his excitement, and I was like, I love it. But again, man, we're storytellers like that. I can't tell a story about a phrase that's been around since the beginning of time. So what we did, oh man, I got to be delicate because I don't want to get in trouble. Because this one's still a little touchy. What we did was we made the shoe pink, and obviously the silver swoosh that's on your shoe now is like this puffed kind of material, but it gives off this like kind of chrome vibe to it. If you were to watch, let me see, it was kind of based on this Hudson Hornet car from this movie Porky's. It's the car itself was this big pink Hudson Hornet, and the guy was like the villain in the movie. But instead of having like an angel on the front for the hood decoration, it was actually a flying pig. So what else we did besides that is we took the pink, we took the silver, and then if you look at the tag, it's navy blue and yellow. It doesn't make any sense with that color combo of the shoe. But what we did was we took the license plate colors from that movie, especially that particular time frame. I think it was in Miami, like 1950s. So that is actually the exact colors of the license plate. And the blue obviously is the sky from a pig flying. So we had to kind of dive in and out of the inspiration to that and apply it to a phrase. But it actually was based on much more than that. And then if you see the shower box or whatever that came with it, that was based on the infamous shower scene in that same movie where a guy was spying on a bunch of chicks with like a peephole in the shower scene. And it was like one of the most notable scenes from that movie. So while it isn't based on the movie or tied to it at all, there was a lot of inspiration from like kind of that whole vibe. So that's where the pig fly story came from.
Well, that was actually one of the things that I was like excited about you being on, was because ever since I've got the shoe, I've always looked at the top of the box and been like, I wonder why it has to do with like, it looks like a water, like shower curtain kind of effect. And I was always curious.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a tough one, man. It's literally like, I don't want to sound, especially now where everything's so tense. It's based on like kind of being like a see-through shower, that box, and that's where the kind of water driplet effect is from. And if you were to see the movie or just kind of even watch maybe like the trailer on YouTube, you'll probably get a glimpse of how all those things tied together. But yeah, again, we couldn't do anything inspired by a movie or directly, attributed to, so we kind of had to tread lightly on that.
Well,
but
these are the
phrase itself, it saved us.
These type of stories, I'm telling you, these stories you've already told us right now, I've never heard of them, never even thought about it. I mean, honestly, as a consumer, we're three regular sneakerheads that come to a podcast. And as a consumer, when you see something like a Wins Pig Fly, or, you guys do like Lear Deodoras or anything like that, we think that you get the shoe, you come up with the colors, you think of like a little cool name, and you come on. That whole process with the police story, the colors, the things like that, that's a phenomenal story that I don't know if anybody knows or heard besides you guys. And
oh no, nobody knows that. You guys would be the first. So either I'll lose my job and be the fourth person on the podcast.
Hey, let me tell you something. We're always we're wide open for sponsorships and anything that Concepts wants to do with us. I'm just giving you any heads up. But another thing,
nobody knows, man.
That's crazy.
I sit and have like internal conversations with people, and they're just like blown away. They're like, "Why have you never said anything?" I'm like, "Well, time and place, man."
The whole Tiffany's thing with the Yankees logo, all that it's crazy stuff, because we're all under the assumption it was Statue of Liberty. You can't think of anything with that type of color.
It is kind of funny, in my opinion, that one collab was based on like honoring a slain police officer, and the other one is like big cops are pigs.
Another question.
I mean, you can see why we picked those two stories to talk about.
So I'm
pretty calculated. If everybody thinks I just float around, get drunk, party, and whatever, but No, I dark out on that stuff.
No,
man. I get super calculated into it.
That's some
and
intelligent
even the
stuff.
boxes and things like that.
So
they can kind of tell the story for me.
So it's funny that we're kind of going through this area because it sounds like Concept is willing to even throw out the risk of like certain things. You had the lobster scare, you had the the slain officer, you had the possibility of when pigs fly, and then I go back to thinking, because like I said, we've done top 10 list, and I don't know if Ryan does as well, but Greg, consider 8-Ball Asics number 1 or number 2 top 10 Asics of all time. To me, it's one of my favorite that I would refuse to ever give up. And you guys had the Cokas.
Really?
It's really.
Yeah.
And you guys had the Cokas.
Yeah.
So you have Slain Officer, you have Blue Lobster, you have When Pigs Fly, and then you have like obviously stuff in reference to drugs. Is there any issues when it comes to saying we're going to create a dunk that is packaged like the classic look of cocaine?
An ASIC.
ASIC. And have it duct tape wrapped with that logo on it with the vial.
Well, they even had like the Trap House picture, like as part of the photo shoot.
Trap House. You even got the blood drips in the insole. Is there any issue?
Red cap on the laces?
Yeah,
back, the
vials.
Lace back,
the vials.
Yeah, the vial.
Like, is there any issues when it comes to stuff like that?
Oh my God, yes. So, where do I even start? So with that, I've always had a appreciation for film and movies, and I fly a lot, so I a lot of people read, I just don't. I wasn't that great in school, to be perfectly honest with you. I kind of barely even made it through graduation. I think I got a black diploma and I had to stay to make up all the days I was suspended just to get it. So knowledge isn't my forte, but I love movies and I love places, people, things. So when I'm working on a shoe with the crew, I kind of always like to pull from somewhere. And one thing I loved was all the movies about kind of cocaine in the 80s and that era. And obviously, like I told you, I had a background and maybe doing some things I shouldn't when I was a kid. So I knew a little bit about that whole world, but it still doesn't work for me if I don't have a way to make it stick or something that ties it directly to who we are as a brand. So when I was thinking about that movie Blow, one of the things I learned was about George Jung being, one of the biggest drug traffickers in all the United States. I think at one point he was ushering in no less than like 85% of the cocaine in America. So he's from Massachusetts. And
Boston
even though
George.
he was like a rat and a snitch, I thought there was something there. So we started diving into that a little bit. And I had been holding the 8-Ball for, I think, 3 years, maybe longer. I wanted to do it. And when I work with guys that come on board, even though I'm the creative director here, I like to have a cohesive unit. We have a very small team of like maybe 3-4 guys. I'd like everybody to be excited about it, or else it doesn't work for me, because we got to push something and convince others that we put our best foot forward, and that's not going to happen unless everybody fully believes in the project. So it took me a couple of years to get everybody to believe in it, and then when I started mentioning kind of the inspo, people were like, "Bro, you're bugging. There's no way in hell you're going to do a cocaine-inspired shoe." And I'm like, well, hear me out. Like, it wasn't necessarily cocaine, but it was an era. Cocaine was, and I'll kind of touch on this in a second. But
you know what? I can actually hear you going to meetings and saying, "Hear me out." I can actually hear that. Yo, hear me out.
That's usually never followed up by anything good. And when someone says "hear me out," be prepared to think they're crazy. So no, but it was it was a luxury drug, and it was something that you just couldn't get your hands on, and it was meant for the elite. It obviously became something much more than that later on. But if you notice, even the laces on the 8-Ball, they were in like a vial, and the navy blue and yellow one were actually the colors of the two most popular credit cards at that time, Visa and MasterCard. So the laces even were symbolic of kind of me coming full story with that. You caught onto the blood drip. You see the cage on the medial side is actually coated in white plastic, which is meant to symbolize like a baggie as well. So everything was there. I love the idea of George Jung being from Mass, but the most important part about it was that he actually got out that year. So it made sense. When we did the C note, nobody really knew this, but luckily it got pushed back, the actual $100 bill going to print, because I think a bunch had gotten stolen and something had happened. The C note, the $100 bill, came out the exact month that we dropped the C note to you guys for sale. So we actually dropped it in, conjunction with the $100 bill going to press. So same deal here. George Young was getting out that year. We thought it would be kind of interesting story, and we did the Trap House, and that was one of my favorite build-outs of all time. Completely interactive, and that's when we started realizing we could do more with that. But the most important part about us doing a cocaine-inspired shoe isn't that it was cocaine and pushing the envelope. It's that if you look back, and I don't think anybody knows this, so thank God I'm sick and on NyQuil and I talk a lot. Every shoe we've ever did has a luxury theme to it. So if you look at LOBSTER, if you look at that Tiffany, being a luxury company, if you look at what the luxury goods was inspired by, Tea Party, the Coca, there's so many others. Lyra, being money-based C-note, obviously Mint. Everything kind of has either a sport or a luxury adaptation to it. So we always trying to stick with that theme. Concepts is when we opened in 96 has come a long way to where we are now. And we were the first store ever independently owned to carry Gucci and Lanvin and Balenciaga alongside of Vans and these other brands. Keep in mind, Barney's and Neiman's and Saks and those guys weren't even hit to that yet. So we were on that wave like super early. So it's kind of been, a little bit of our DNA in who we are. So to kind of convey that through collaborations was a no-brainer for me, but it's always been like in this kind of underlying theme, never something that we've plastered. But even like if it's the boxes, there's always some kind of luxury interpretation there. So when we followed it up with the Coca, obviously I wanted to do a little bit more with this one and kind of not get Asics people fired from the job, but that almost did happen. We were open in Miami to pop up the second day, and I think Miami? Japan got wind that there might have been like a correlation there, and they were going to shut it down. We had about 400 kids coming to the COP that day, and I was going crazy trying to figure out a way to make it all make sense. But luckily, it all worked out. We did probably what I would say is coolest build up, I think, in sneaker history in terms of being interactive in the overall experience. I don't think I've seen anything even along those lines. We spent upwards of like $100K just trying to get that. We rented out this mansion. I don't know if y'all were around as I hit to the pictures or whatever, but we basically dropped a pin in Miami during Art Basel. We told kids we'd come pick them up in a bus the next day at the same spot, and we did it in 20-minute intervals. So once you got on the bus, we blindfolded you, drove you to an undisclosed location, which was like this. So you got 30 kids blindfolded on each bus, and we would kind of give you the orders before you got there of what you could and couldn't do, where you could take pictures, where you couldn't, what you could touch, what you couldn't. It was super kind of, I wouldn't say strict, but it was we wanted to kind of take over your senses. So what we did was once you got to the undisclosed location, which was this huge mansion, enormous, we took the blindfold off. You walked into this room, and there's just this. It's all red lighted out, and it's just like a jungle in there. And there's this old Vietnam vet there posted up with an AK and a German Shepherd that was old as fuck. The thing just barked like crazy. So picture you being completely you couldn't see shit, and the first thing you see is the sun from outside, and you immediately escorted into this room. And the dog is just barking at you, so your sensory overload is just going nuts. From there, we took you through a customs room, and then you walk down this long, elongated hallway. Keep in mind, it's a huge mansion, it's massive. And you came out into this airplane hangar where we had this deafening helicopter sound.
You had a helicopter sound?
I think a Bugatti. What's that?
You said it was a helicopter sound and everything?
Oh, yeah, it was the decibel was 10. It sounded like a helicopter was landing inside this airplane hangar. But we had these Bugattis. We had 18 girls in swimsuits and shotguns and machetes and shit. And, you know, then we had there's a lot of things I can't say that were there. But then you went upstairs on the second terrace of this mansion, and there was like an actual nightclub there where people were actually just partying. People, you know, of age, of course, were drinking, hanging out, models and all this stuff. And you walk through like this nightclub. Then you got to this set, because you bought the first shoe downstairs, the Coca. You got to this last room where there's like, not even the last room, one of the rooms, because there's some of them I just can't talk about because we'll get in trouble. But there was like this Colombian music playing, and this one table, it's carved out of like an entire fucking tree. It's literally like the length of like a football field. And this woman was at the end, dressed as the, you know, the likeness of Griselda Blanco, and she was like the super hot chick, and you know, she sold you the Black Widow. And then from there you went out. It's been pretty dim and dark through all these rooms. It's kind of showing you from start to finish what it took to get product from where it comes from to how it gets here. And that was the kind of Art Basel aspect to it. It was like a, you know, interactive build out. And then from there you walked outside, and they have this convertible, like no top, no roof, waterfall outdoor like area. It was nuts with like these two chicks and waterfalls, and it just like, you know, completely consumed the senses. And kids, you know, to this day tell me it was the greatest thing that they've ever seen. So for us, that was kind of the next step in taking packaging up a notch, because we've seen people kind of mimicking and copying us, and you know, we wanted to do something different. So going forward, you'll see a lot more things like that, where we reward the consumer that actually wants to come wait in line. Not that we want people to wait, because we love for people to get like the easy cop thing. But you know, for the people that do wait and are persistent, we want to make sure we offer them something else outside of that.
Well, next time you do that, let us know where the line is, because we will gladly come wait.
I would actually make a trip to experience something like that. A lot of, I mean,
Yeah,
considering that, like, you know, today's now and age is where a lot of sneaker, you know, connoisseurs, sneakerheads, whatever. The constant thing is we just all take, you know, losses. We can never cop what we want and things like that. But to hear that there are companies and things like that that are going the extra mile to provide an experience like that is insane. Like, just you telling us that story, I could visually see all of it.
Yeah.
That might be one of these stories are fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. We had some marketing guys from some other companies come, and they were like, we don't even do this shit, and we have like insane budgets. But yeah, I think, you know, again, for me, I'm more of the people's champ. I like to do things that I would appreciate. I don't like to walk in a store and feel like shit or be talked down to or made to feel inferior because someone holds the key to something that they deem is cool. So for me, I'm super appreciative of the people that rock with us. I know we've had our share of, you know, fuck ups. We're having bots eat our site alive, or the website crashes, or, you know, I know there's just been countless times where people could have gave up on us and they still rock with us. And that's the most important factor to me. So even like when I did the Red Ryder BB gun for Ugly Sweater, I did it only in store in Boston because the Boston guys always complain that I show more love to New York. So I try to balance it out. At the end of the day, you can't make everybody happy, but, you know, you do your best. And I think providing at least an experience kind of in that reward makes people feel like they're a little bit more proud of it. And, you know, you get to have fun with everybody yourself. Like, I walked everybody personally through each tour during that whole Art Basel thing. I might have missed like one or two, but I was pretty much your tour guide through the whole thing. So anybody that had any questions to ask me off the record, I could have discussed it with them. And, you know, I like to try to build with these kids and just kind of see where their head's at, because I mean, they're definitely dictating what's going to be next. And I know people refer to it as culture. I mean, I don't know how that word really breaks down when we're talking about the sneaker consumer that just wants to buy things and resell them. But for the guy that actually is appreciative of it and that wants to hear these stories and that loves the packaging and the extra mile, you know, I want to be there for that kid. So
a funny story real quick is that you actually are partly responsible for the creation of this show, because I met George because he could get his hands on the first ugly Christmas sweater, the gray pair. And that's how George and
Crazy George?
Well, yeah, crazy sneakers, George.
Yeah.
He got his hands on the pair, and that's how we met. And I will say that there are 2 shoes that you have created that get worn by me every year, and that is every Christmas I wear my gray ugly Christmas sweaters, and every St. Patrick's Day, because I am an Irish person, I wear the Concepts Converse Weapon the Boston Celtic green and black ones that you did, which
we did those for the Deftones dunk. I always wanted that shoe and I couldn't get it, so I figured that was close enough.
So there are 2 shoes that you created that get put on my feet for a special occasion 2 times a year.
The fact
those ugly sweaters, man. I was sitting on that shoe for 5 years. I think maybe, no, I'm sorry, 4 years maybe, before I could get people to believe in that too. There's a lot of things that are on the back burner. I got one coming up this year in June. I can't say with who or what it is, but I've been sitting on it for, about 3 years.
You can't
so
say
usually that's a good sign.
You can't say what
when I got to push people to believe in it.
You can't say what brand it is?
It's with Adidas. It's with Adidas.
Okay.
It'll be coming out in June.
Okay, so
it's probably my favorite shoe that I've done. And
are you gonna wear this one?
A long time. Yeah, that I'll wear.
Okay,
all right. This was fine. Okay, so then just
it's got Boost in it.
It's got Boost
in it.
I was gonna ask about that a little bit later too, but
I wear Boost a lot, and I wear Jordan 1s. That's like, and I wear Air Max 1s. Any ones. I still like Air Force 1s, Air Max 1s, Jordan 1s. I love 1s. Like, that's my favorite.
What you just said, prior about how you're appreciative of the consumer and you understand areas where you guys have messed up before. We appreciate hearing that, because you don't ever get to hear that from anybody about, they understand where they've messed up or the website's crashed and things like that. Like, I appreciate you saying that, because even though you don't have to say anything, you don't owe us anything, but it's good to know that somebody in this industry does care. When we had Rich Mays on last week, and he talked about how it's become a transactional relationship now. It's a stand in line.
Oh, big time.
It's stand in line, win your raffle, pay your money, get your shoe, and get out. Hearing that, the stories and what goes behind these sneakers, I'm going to be honest with you, we're already big fans of Concepts, period. And hearing the story about the 8-ball, because I always wondered why there was a yellow and blue lace with the 8-ball. And
don't leave home without it.
They hear that that's the representation of a Visa credit card colors, and the plastic on the side is a baggie, is phenomenal. Like, that's incredible. And I appreciate you saying, that you care what the consumer thinks and you care how we feel, and you understand that things happen and the site crashes and stuff like that. But to hear the work that goes into a sneaker, I hope anybody listens to this and says, you know what, I'm going to keep this. I'm not going to buy this to resell. I'm not even going to bother, because this is more important than a lot of people realize. And
well, that was the hope. I mean, what, real quick, when we did Complex Con, did you guys go? Did you?
No,
we're
going
this year.
We're going this year.
You went this year?
No, we're going to go this year. We did not go. We didn't go in 17. We're going to go for 18 though.
Okay, so what happens there is, to Rich's point, it's an amazing experience. I never seen anything like it. It's a little bit overwhelming, but I think it's something you want to check out. But the problem therein lies is, you have a shoe. Maybe say you want the ugly sweater, or you want the When Pigs Fly, and you go and put the work in to get it. Maybe you have George go wait in line for you, or you owe somebody a favor, or you go put the work in yourself and you go and wait. Or maybe it's just that easy and you win a raffle online. I won the fucking Cars Black Jordan 4s on a raffle. I can't believe that. I thought raffles weren't even a real thing.
You and Greg.
So did I. That I won one as well.
So, yeah, including our own. I'm like, damn, man, you won? All right, that's cool, because I didn't even get them. So the cool thing with that is, though, you get, resellers aside, let's just talk like amongst us for a second. There's people that genuinely want shoes. They want to wear them. They want to rock them. They want to you know, they already have it picked out what they're going to kid them with and do all these things. When you go to something like that, you lose the emotional attachment to it because you just went to an area, you waited in line, you caught, and you repeated the process over and over and over again. Now, I don't know about you, but like when it comes to a female, when you're, you know, after her and you're going to get it and you put all the work and you finally get it, it's amazing. But if you go get a hooker in Amsterdam and you go do it night after night after night, it's going to lose its luster. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with the sneaker world right now. There's so many shoes and there's so much going on. You just don't have that attachment to it anymore. It's really just about, can I flip these? Can I wear them once? Can I sell them? And that connotation of easy, what is it called?
Instant gratification.
What is it called when you get an easy cop?
Yeah.
Easy cop. That's like a stigma now. It's like a bad thing. Why the fuck is that a bad thing? You know what I mean? Why would you want to go through hell to get it? Like, I won these Jordans 4s on a raffle. I'm pumped. I don't have to fucking call anybody or owe somebody a favor. Like, why is that a bad thing?
Well, okay, so
I know like 8 people that want it, you know, like, and they're like, oh, they're trying to get another pair. I'm like, bro, be happy that you got the first pair.
So
like, that's the world that we're in now.
Let's talk about that because, and this is something, and I'm gonna, one thing that we love to do, we like to learn. We like to learn and we hear these stories and we like to learn, and we have no problem changing our opinions or any statements we made in the past. I'm gonna tell you this, I've been on the hunt for Kennedy's since forever. And I wasn't gonna pay. I didn't want to pay $500 for a beat up pair, and I didn't want to pay $1,000 for a brand new pair. Episodes we've discussed exclusivity. We've talked about how sneakers made you feel special, and I've constantly said recently. So I bought 2 pair of blues and the red Hyenas when they dropped. I was like, I have to have as many pairs as I can.
Damn, how much money are you making over there, bro?
Okay. Well, you know, like I said, we're regular consumers. We have regular jobs. We make no money over here, but you know, we're still interested in
you take
money.
all of our money.
Yeah,
you have all of our money. So if we need a loan, we're gonna call you.
So this is the thing. When I finally was able to get my hands on them, even though they weren't the original, you know, Kennedy, I bought as many as I could that I could appreciate for myself. When that easy cop, it was so easy and I got them. I kind of felt like they lost that luster for a second.
100%.
I felt that way. And then, but hearing these stories, I feel ridiculous even saying that because what goes into it on your guys' end and the hard work and the decisions and telling stories, picking materials, the meetings and things like that, it makes me feel foolish for even saying anything like that. And that will never come out of my mouth again because these stories are incredible.
No, I understand, man. I mean, there's things in life, and it's funny, we condition as people to think this way. There's things in life that I haven't been able to get my hands on. Maybe I could make a phone call or owe somebody a favor, but if I can't get it, that I want it. But I'm slowly starting to understand, like, I'm contributing to that, so I have to, like, back up a little bit. It's a good thing when you can get what you want without having to do, you know, all the extra. It's, you know, there's a million times you've gotten shot down and things haven't worked out, and those are the shoes that some people just hold in high regard. It's crazy. I mean, when I looked at what is it? I wanted those off-white Prestos so bad, and I'm at Complex Con, and every kid walking by me getting them on. I'm like, these fucking things ain't even out yet. How do all these kids got them? You know, I want a pair. And then when I got them, I'm like, you know what? I'm happy that I got them. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what everybody else is going through. It's like their own, you know, personal ordeal or whatever. But it all goes back to, you know, me. I'm still a consumer at heart. Like a lot of people, and maybe you guys don't even know this, I have no ownership of Concepts whatsoever. Like, I'm literally an employee there. So I can't speak in regards to, like, all the things that go wrong, but I know that for the duration of how long I've been there, I've always tried to make it right or tried to do everything I can because it's important to keep the kids that support you rocking with you. That's, like, above all. And that doesn't mean just collabs, I mean, or supporting the brand of rocking our clothes. It just even means buying from us. And there's a million other options these days. And, you know, these kids that are out there buying things and getting treated like shit, you know, one thing you got to keep in mind is you're the power that be. Like, there's nothing above you. The consumer, at the end of the day, dictates necessarily everything. So you have to kind of utilize that to your advantage and and understand like it's not always got to be a rat race where you got to go and chase this, that, and the third. Like you can make a GR shoe just as cool as you can make a fucking, you know, celebrity shoe cool. Like it's just a matter of what you want to do with it and how you want to be different. Right now we're falling into this lapse of judgment where kids are literally just going online, seeing what the resale is and trying to get that, or mimicking what the next guy's doing. A few years ago when everybody was buying Asics, Diodora, Puma, and you name it, like that was a great time for business because nobody was really kind of monopolizing the game. Now it's kind of going back and falling into the same patterns of like kids just need to have certain shit and they don't want anything else. Like, you know what I fucking jumped on was the black and baby blue Jordan 6s. I was like, are you kidding me?
Those are
that shoe. Like, I love the infrared, so I would take that shoe in any color combo like that.
Absolutely.
Or even you know, these Jordan 1s, those operator joints. Like, I hope they come out. You know, like I was geeked when I actually called in a favor for those. Like, I like basic, simple stuff. It doesn't always got to be over the top. And there's a lot of shoes that I feel that are great that come out in general release format that just kind of get slept on. And it's a shame. So hopefully kids will kind of wake up and stop being different and being themselves, because they all claim individuality, but the reality is it's not the case. You know, there's just a lot of kids following suit. And again, I think it all kind of boils down to what people are doing on social media to try to get that kind of, you know, falsifying or whatever the fuck it is. Like, you can talk to people in real life that can appreciate you just as much as, you know, you can do spending time cropping and posting your pictures. I suck at Instagram, but I have a million friends in real life. So I'm basing my whole, like, you know, argument on that. Like, there's a lot of people out here that could really step up and change the way things are viewed, but instead they choose to kind of use their power to fall in line with everything else. That's too bad.
So speaking of exclusivity, you are responsible for one of the most exclusive non-sample Nike SBs of all time, the Yellow Lobsters. So where did the Yellow Lobsters come from, and will they be at ComplexCon 2018?
Oh, wow. So Yellow, when we were doing the blue one, we went to dinner. I'm sorry, we were doing the blue one the day before it came out. Nike was like, hey, we take over your lounge. We had like a membership lounge in the basement of our Harvard store that only a few people have actually seen. It's got fireplaces and a bar and, like, you know, TVs and shit. It's pretty dope. They were like, we need to go down there and set up. And I'm like, well, I didn't know what they were even setting up. So we gave them about an hour. They came down, showed us this fisherman that found this yellow lobster approximately 6 months prior to the date that they were there. And they did it for us as a gift. So we had no clue it was coming. I mean, that's easily one of the most hideous shoes I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, that's a mustard, yellow, and red. Like, that's not a combo you want to see, but it fell in line, you know, with this newfound discovery, and it was just, you know, a mind-blowing gift. So I think there was 36 pair we got, and a few pairs went to reps and skaters. So maybe as high as 42 or something like that. I don't know the number per se, but those unfortunately will never be coming out. One thing we don't like to do is beat a dead horse, and I think while we've retroed some shoes or give different variations of it, we don't want to dwell on that. I think we could have did a lot more with that whole lobster category, but it was kind of my judgment to shut that down early.
Yeah.
Although I will say that this year, 2018, is the 10th anniversary of the first one, the red one.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, you know,
So
maybe if enough people say something to Nike, we can get something going. There's still time, but
hearing that it's been 10
I don't think
years,
anything's in the works right now.
hearing that it's been 10 years makes me feel like I'm getting old.
Did Concepts?
Yeah, you man, who you kidding?
You can't. I mean, I got to be older than you.
No, I don't even want to get into that conversation. I got a grandchild. I'm old as fuck.
George was born in
Yeah, but
19...
that don't, I mean, I know a lot of people that's around my age that got grandkids. That don't mean much. No, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, it's been 10 years already, because we had talked about it, what we do for the 10-year anniversary, and you know, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, have all your, people hit up Nike SB and tell them that we need one.
Get your concept bots ready.
I can work under the pressure, no problem. That's easy.
Did concepts when the guys were deciding to open a store, did they originally want to do a skate and hard goods store, or was the idea to do sneakers and streetwear and that kind of stuff?
So back then, that was prior to my arrival. They had, it was a typical mom and pop store like you see in any major hub. It kind of mixed Clarks and Timberland alongside Nike and some of those brands. What had happened was the kids that were working there, just kind of part-time to scrape together some money, were skaters and snowboarders. And the owner at that time saw that, they were coming in. They had, they kind of convinced him, I think, to start snowboarding. So he's like, dude, this is sick. I should sell these. So they asked Burton to come in, and Burton came in and looked around the store and were like, they left. And then they chased them outside. Like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? They're like, yo, you're wasting our time. You said you want to sell hard goods. Like, what the fuck is this? I think they were already selling skate at the time, but it still wasn't set up to be a snowboard shop. And they were like, no, this is our vision. We want to do Clarks and Mephisto and Birkenstock alongside, snowboards and bindings and skateboards and hard goods. And, they convinced them to do it. And it was kind of the first time back in that, this was 96. It was the first time that a brand, I think, on our side, like being like an independent retailer, started doing shop in shops. So there was like a Burton section, and there was all these little mini sections in there. And there was like these dickhead asshole kids in the back that were just being mean to customers, no different than what you would have heard of at like Supreme or something back then.
Absolutely.
Well, at Supreme, the employees are the dickheads.
Approach. Yeah, I don't know how that whole trend started. I think me not being a skateboarder and being friends with so many, I think it's not necessarily that people were dicks here. It was just kind of like, you get asked the same questions over and over again, and you start to get a little bit tired of repeating the same answer. It's no different when the 1,000th kid calls for a Yeezy, or is there a raffle? Like, yeah, dude, like you already listed it on Instagram, right? Said it. I think that's what it is, at least on this side here, because they weren't mean. They just were kind of like, you know what I mean? And you're like, damn, bro, I'm just asking you a question. Think I'm like you're the first person to ask it. So yeah, that's kind of how it started back then. And all the kids used to skate. We were friends with Vinny Ponte. I know who eventually went on to start Rival and now actually leases our space to us in New York. And he brought a bunch of people through. Spongy, who's like triple OG from where I'm at, who was kind of like the guy that brought me in over there. He was dialed in across the skate scene and stuff. So that's kind of all that stuff happened. Matter of fact, I don't think they knew at that time what they had, but there's some great stories there too, like prior to me being there. Like there's a lot of people that have passed through there. We used to have like a shoe stash in the back. Like I said, when they would hold shoes for Deon, it'd be like 30, 40 shoes in this back room, and they would hold shoes for this person and this person. So when a celebrity would come in, like I remember I had Lawrence Fishburne in there one time, and he was crawling through like a maze of shoes with me that were about 20 high, like 10 deep across. I got fucking the dude Morpheus from the Matrix looking through fucking shoes with me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like crazy, man. Like, and we had so many celebrities, and we were famous for having these shoes that were stashed in the back. Kids would come in, like this band would come in, or this rapper would come in, and they'd be like, oh, I heard you got shoes in the back. And, we just became famous for that. So while A-Life and Norton, these guys were like kind of putting on for New York and doing great collabs and things like that, we were just this little mom and pop store in the middle of Boston that was known for having like this crazy sneaker stash of shoes you'd never seen. And I think that's where storytelling came from for us, is that we spent majority of our time trying to educate people that didn't, because sneakers weren't on the internet back then. There was maybe like pick your shoes or a couple things, but nobody was breaking down like what a Moschine Air Force was, or a fucking, what this Nightshade dunk was, or what it meant to everybody else, or even Futura and these guys. Like, so we were doing that. So we spent majority of our time educating the consumer, especially like on Saturdays, that would come in to this mom and pop store, walk in the back and like, whoa, what is this? Wait, what are these shoes? I've never seen these at the mall. And that's kind of how it all started.
So like Nike SB
if they were nice.
So Nike SB would have been a more natural beginning as far as collaborating than doing collabs with for like runners and basketball shoes and whatever else. Is that, I mean, from the beginning of Concepts?
Yeah, so the story I was told, and this is me just translating here. When Nike came in, they tried to do a skateboard, I think twice, and it failed. When they came in the third time, some of the staff at Concepts were looking at shoes, and a dunk. I think one of the kids at Concepts was like, I don't know what you guys keep trying and failing for. The shoe you need to do is right here, and pulled the dunk off the wall, because the kids at our shop were skating that, and they're like, you should run with this. And whatever happened with that, if there's truth to it or if it's exaggerated or whatever happens with that, obviously end up leading up to us being shipped as one of the first Nike SB retailers in the world. I know Supreme was on that list. It was us, and I'm sure there was a couple great core skate shops back then. But we were with them from the actual very, very beginning.
That's dope.
And that supported them from the jump. And that whole SB craze, you're seeing some of the action come back now. It's dope, but I mean, I don't think anything was more exciting than seeing SBs like way back when. It was bigger than, I tell them all the time, I'm like, this is the retro right now. We grew up in Jordans were our retros. Now SBs are like the new retros. Like everybody, has some type of attachment to a certain one, even if they don't rock SBs anymore. If you gave them like a Heineken or something crazy like that, you better believe someone would be like, oh, I'm taking these, like people will still rock that shit. So that's why we kept the partnership going.
So you've been there now since 2003, so we're going on 15 years of you being at Concepts. What collaboration are you most proud of? What collaboration meant the most and means the most to you, and why?
I'd have to say Blue Lobster, because that was the first one I handled by myself. Even though it was a copycat, but we helped create with Rob. I think the sophomore jinx and just feeling what pressure actually was, knowing that the chips were kind of stacked against us. And I think while some people say it's easy to do that, I think us coming up with this just insane campaign and the packaging, everything about it was better. I don't want to say the color Pantone was better, because I think the red was a little bit more appeasing to the eye just because it's so different. But I think even adding like the neon laces and everything to it, from start to stop, just everything about it was like personable to me, and I think it came out on top. And that was by far the most exciting. But in terms of what was the most fun, I would have to probably say the Coca, because that build out, or the 8-ball was that shit was just nuts.
It sounds,
to think about it now in this day and age, it'd be tough to get away with another shoe like that. And we caught hell from like parents and things like that thought we were advocating drug use. And I was just like, what's funny, man? Like, this is sneakers. This is who we are. It's basically kind of art at this point. So there's nothing really that should be left off the table.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, like someone to go out and do something wrong, which I don't think it was. It was really just kind of dialing in a point in time. Because if you looked at me growing up in my era, all we watched was drug movies and gangster movies. Like, why the fuck wouldn't we want to do a shoe that paid homage to that?
Absolutely.
Even the what the fuck was that? Was it Tuxedo? I get confused with all these shoes that we've done. The Diodora one,
the Rat Pack,
like Italian suiting, and even that. It was all like, it wasn't meant to be like a mob shoe or anything, but it was just like, we like to do things that kind of honor a moment in time and that can translate well and give us an excuse to use weird materials. Like, nobody even knows on that backpack that's supposed to be like Italian suiting material on it, and the eyelet was actually like a red rose. But there's just like so many little things that we try to bring to life. And I think people, like to your point earlier, you look at a shoe, you like it, you take it as face value, but we're always adding like little things that we almost want to honor the kid that bought it sight unseen, and maybe just not sight unseen, but that bought it without knowing the full story, and then having it and then being like, yo, do you know what this is? Because that kind of makes it a little bit more memorable.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Well, see, you know,
I always talk about. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was kind of like a lot of people forget, you know, because we are, you know, older. You know, we've been in the sneaker, whatever you want to call it, for a lot longer than a lot of people realize, and that the parents and people right now that are doing the complaining, their kids weren't even. A lot of them weren't even alive during a lot of the concepts that you're trying to introduce. When you're talking about Rat Pack, when you're talking about double entendre concepts, anyways. So when you're introducing something like, you know, Coca or 8 Ball or things like that, the parents nowadays are looking at their 16, 17, 18-year-olds who want to buy that now, and they're like, what the heck is this? But for us, who grew up on Scarface, who grew up on, you know, Blow, who grew up on all these...
You grew up on Blow?
No, okay. Yeah, sorry.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's why I'm so creative.
Yeah. But what you trying to say about Deon, huh?
Yeah. But it's like, you know, it's one of those things that
Nothing that hasn't been said, believe me.
It's one of those things where it's like they won't understand it, but we will. So when you come up with like make these decisions on models and things like that, looking at like the new one that's getting ready to drop on the 19th, the Havasu, what makes you say let's give I think it's a 991?
991.5.
1.5. What makes you decide like we're gonna go with that model this year when you've had such success with 999s, 997s, you know, and things like that?
So that's a great question. Oftentimes, it's not necessarily my call. It might be something that the brand might want to pitch and kind of do. So Tarian was a great example. That was supposed to be a 997, and it got switched up at the last moment. I think I was traveling around, and the guys decided, like, you know, they wanted to bring that model back and give it a shot. I personally think it would have been better on a 997, in the purple that we had mapped out for the snails and kind of the tongue and everything would have been a little better on that, but it was kind of an instance of us just conforming a little bit for the sake of the partnership, and that happens a lot of times. The Havasu, for instance, they wanted to do that model with us, and if we couldn't find the right story to match up with it, we wouldn't do it. I think one thing to keep in mind is if you look back at everything Concepts has done, we don't really necessarily get to play it safe. It's not even about us walking the line. It's kind of like we're up for the challenge anytime. When we did that Trainer 1.0, nobody really was checking for that shoe. And I think we did a great job with it. And people maybe really didn't even check for it after as much.
That's the thermal map, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
and
I mean, the shoe was brand new, so it was almost like you guys were doing a collab like after Nike launched it. I think maybe that's what it was. Yeah. I think it was more that than anything else.
It wasn't meant for our market, you know, like it was exactly. It was an athletic shoe. It was meant for what it was for, but we appropriated it for our marketplace, and I think we did a good job of it. But you know, I'm always up for
Ryan bought it.
Like we do Mephistos, we do fucking Birkenstocks, we do shit that just is not within the parameters of what's socially acceptable for a sneaker shop. So for us, it's about trying to do that. Like, you know, there's competitors of mine that get thrown fucking, you know, any shoe that they want to do. And they still struggle to do shit that I think, you know, they could do a better job of. We don't always get those things set our way. Like we actually never have worked on a Nike outside of the Trainer 1.1, 1.0 or whatever. So like I always tell people, I'm like, give me something like that and let me show you what I can do. You know what I mean? I haven't done a Jordan. I haven't done a basketball silo or anything like that. Even Adidas, I've done some great models that I haven't done necessarily the ones that I want to sink my teeth into. So it's just like we do what is expected of us, typical to like how I was raised, being like blue collar and hard worker. Like we take what's given to us and we work on it. If it's not right for us, we won't do it. But if we think we can do something for it and there's an audience for it, that branches us out a little bit further. And when someone looks back at our body of work and is like, you know what, I didn't really like that, but I think they did a good job with it, then we're happy. You know, not everything is going to go your way, and these kids need to know that. It's not like you're going to get a job as a sneaker designer and you're just going to get thrown fucking, 10 best shoes in the entire world and think that's how it works. Like, it just doesn't.
Well, it's funny.
And there's sneaker designers that work at these brands that are young kids that are super talented, whether it be New Balance, Puma, Asics, whatever, and they have to constantly come up with, and I'm talking about real designers, not what I do. Like, what I do is paint by number and shit. I'm talking about guys that actually, like, know how to orchestrate. These guys, it's not easy coming up with new things. Like, it's not like you just get a job at Nike and you get to go work on an Air Max all day. Like, no, you're constantly pressed to come up with new and exciting shit. And I think that's one thing people need to be mindful of is, like, creating what's next or what's new or trying what's new is the future of our business, not just, like, capitalizing off what's already there.
So just
unless you're the Patriots and you're gonna win the Super Bowl, then
relax,
I don't
man,
know.
relax.
I don't know because the Jaguars.
I'm just saying. I already booked Minnesota.
Well, it's funny when you talk about Boston. We're in Arizona. We're from Arizona, right? We live in Arizona right now.
I love Arizona, by the way.
Oh, good.
And actually, is not where Lake Havasu is?
That's what I was going to ask you.
That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, actually, just touch on something real quick. So, when you talk about Boston, and when we think of Boston, we've all been to Boston before.
Yes.
We've all been to Boston a couple times.
I was just there a couple months ago
George
for a wedding.
Was just there. And, you think of Boston, you think of, like, I think of blue collar. I don't know a lot about Boston personally besides just visiting. But you think of blue collar, you think of baseball, you think of
the
Celtics,
Irish.
You think of rival, you think of, like, mob, you think of a lot of stuff like that you see in television and movies.
The Departed.
And things like that, yeah. And just from you being a creator and Concepts being one of those them sneaker shop forerunners, how angry were you when Bodega opened in Boston?
Oh my God, I was pissed, bro. I was heated.
I didn't think you'd admit to that.
Yeah, so when they opened, I was just like, wait, what is going on? And, nobody really told me. And I'm like, is it a bunch of rich kids? Like, who the fuck are these dudes? So, and I didn't necessarily look at it as, like, my city because, honestly, I think that we weren't doing enough right at that time. Keep in mind, we were still in back of the tannery, so we were still based in this mom-and-pop store. We hadn't opened yet in the newer location, which is where we launched the LOBSTER. So, once I finally, like, wrapped my head around it, I'm like, you know what? These dudes are doing nothing wrong. They're doing something right. And we actually need to kind of step our game up. And I think that's what forced us to come forward and really kind of align with that vision that I said that I initially had. Because, even though I took that leap of faith and grabbed the job, look at the lapse of time in between from when I started that Concepts to when we actually opened that store. It was 4 years. So another thing is, like, just because I wanted it to happen doesn't mean that we had, like, some, wealthier than now rich owners that were like, oh, cool, great idea. Here you go. Here's like $1 million. Go open the store and do this. That's not how it worked. It took years and years of even just trying to get brands and trying to even align with a collab. And I think the first collab we did was with the Super Team 33 stuff with New Balance, which was like A-Life, Sporty LA, and a bunch of other great retailers across the globe. So it took a long time. And then once I finally seen that they were doing it, they got Tier Zero in like a year. And I was, these fucking dudes, like, I didn't, I was heated, but, we're all great friends now. I love them guys. I think that what they did actually woke us up and got us going. And, I talk to Jay quite often, who's one of the owners. And, looking back now, I couldn't be more happy that they did that. But yeah, initially I was like, damn, this is fucked up. Like, we should, what should we do about this? Well, I don't want to say too much because we're all good friends now. But
no.
I had some ill-advised thoughts for sure.
I think it's just one of those. I think it's just one of those things where it's just, it's just a competition thing, and it's natural. We're not the only sneaker podcast out there. There's not a lot of us, but they seem to just kind of pop up everywhere. And of course, in my own mindset, I feel like we're consumers and we speak how we feel. If we like something, we don't like it, and we speak to the people. So when every once in a while, when a new podcast or a new show or something pops up sneaker wise, you get that feeling of like, man, like, what the heck? But it does make us work harder. I feel like reaching out to somebody like you and trying to get your opinions and us getting these stories is great, because there's a lot of people who want to know this stuff. It's a great story. Mm-hmm. Like it makes me appreciate concepts and collaboration work even more. We discussed
I appreciate that.
We discussed with Rich Mays, and I asked him, I said, is collaborating the savior for the sneaker universe? Like, is it gonna rely heavily on collaborations? Last year we had Cause, we had Virgil do amazing things with Nike. Is it gonna be to the point where we're all just waiting for the next quote unquote fire to come out of these geniuses like yourself to put on market?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I think we're all wondering that. Personally, I love those moments, but I don't necessarily think that they define what a whole year is made up of. So I think for me, because I get asked that all the time, and even from a brand standpoint, they're like, should we be collaborating with stores more, or should we be collaborating with other brands? And the question is who's actually gonna push the envelope and take it up a notch. I think that some of the big guys you mentioned, they get ultimate creativity. On my side, it's a little bit more subdued. There's definitely things I've tried to do that just I can't do, that I'm not allowed to do, or maybe the technology is not there, the development isn't ready to risk it on a smaller shop. So I think those big guys for sure are necessary, because they're the guys that kind of get full reign to do what they want. But I think what you noticed from this past year, Cause is brilliant regardless. I actually like the black pair a little more than the gray, because I thought having it muted, I didn't really like the hands all over my shoes. So I like the black because it's a little bit of him, but it's also like kind of understated, which is kind of where I'm at. But I think for a kid that really wants to kind of be in his own, customization is going to be the future for the next couple of years. So Virgil opened the door with that. Obviously outside of, I know a lot of people had mentioned Ian from LOBSTER, who did the relock first and kind of inside out of it. And a lot of people said that's where Virgil got his inspiration from. Whether he did or didn't, Ian's still a very creative guy in his own right. And I think it's never looking at something about who did what first. It's just a matter of who's kind of, knocking at the door and get someone to open the door and open up and see what's happening. And I think we're noticing now with some of the cooler customizers in the game, like I'm good friends with Mosh, and I've heard of some of the other names. I don't necessarily know them. They can also send me free shit. I'll leave my address later. But but I think customization for sure is like giving the kid his own identity and helping them, be themselves. And I think that's what's going to be more important than any collab, because a kid that's sitting at home that really wants to digress from what's happening can really just go to work on something that he already has, make it his own, and stand out amongst the crowd. It's just a matter of is he ready to not be, have his name in bright lights and he's just happy with whatever his circle of friends are. But I think for me, I'm anxious to see what kids are going to do this year in the comforts of their own home, and just, with some scissors, some whatever fucking color, I don't know, whatever paint that is that they use, or Velcro, or whatever the hell they're doing. And I didn't really understand Virgil's mindset until I went to the Nike thing that they threw for him in New York during Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of like, telling kids, like, this is cool that I got to do this, but you've always been able to do this, so do it. And he said it in much more of a genius way. I'm saying it with a Boston accent, like I just got off the pilot set, but that's kind of where he was at, and I appreciated that a lot, because I think he's right. I think I've always said, like, people say, I want your job, I want to work for you, I want to intern for you. And I'm just like, man, you know, like these are all great things that have happened to me, but I kind of made them happen. It's not like I just sat around and someone called me and did it. So while things have changed now, I took a chance and did something back then when it wasn't cool. Nobody was really like, the sneaker culture was big and it was booming, but it was nothing compared to what it is now. So there's actually more opportunities. It's just a matter of like how you want to differentiate yourself from everyone else. And I think a lot of kids get stuck on trying to imitate what they're seeing and maybe try to do it a little better. Like, no, there's a million things that haven't been done. Things of which I personally think about all the time. Like, why has someone not did this or did this? Like, so I mean, those kids that are sitting at home listening, or those kids that have devoted themselves to trying to find a career path here, maybe it's not necessarily like going and getting a job in Oregon and doing something you don't like. Maybe it's you have the power to do what you want to do right now. It's just you got to find something and make it happen. Like, I used to fucking scrub my shoes with 409 and a toothbrush for years. Am I going to say that crepe protector or base of mark is better than that? I don't know, but I know that they found something that didn't exist to that capacity, and they created multi-million-dollar brands off it. You know, like when my man Alex Diamond did stock laces, like he was doing that shit on his own. Like, there's so many things out there that kids can do. It's just a matter of sometimes you get an idea stuck in your head and you're just committed to that and only that, and you won't like. There's nothing that can take you away from it. Whereas you might be missing opportunities passing you by just by being stubborn. It's not necessarily that you're devoted to mastering your craft. It's that you got to understand everything else that you're going to do up until that point is going to actually hone that for you. So I was doing stock when I started Concepts. It wasn't like I got a job and I was on the floor because I didn't care. Like I said, I wanted the shoes. I didn't really care what it was I was doing. And again, I was making great money. It wasn't really the coolest job for me to do, to be getting paid like $10 an hour or probably less to fucking sit in the back and organize shoes by SKU count. But what it did for me was help understand, like, when I would check Nike.net or when I would do this, I understand SKUs. I understand what the numbers meant. I understand how to find them. Or I would geek out on Nike Talk and go find shit. Like, I knew how to go off the SKU numbers or what I was looking for. So there was an asset to me there. And I was like kind of, zoning out on myself and doing that. But, it's a humble experience. And I think kids just think once you get in the door, like, everything's just going to open up for you. Like, oh, yo, I have a jacket with patches on that I made, here, you should pick this up. Like, nah, bro, I don't owe you shit. Because you know why? You still have a long way to go before you learn anything. Like, there's a million other kids that are doing the same thing, but you think just because you DM me, I owe you something more than I do. Like, that's where their mentality is. And it's more like, if you just take the time to do it all on your own and don't worry about being, people say to me all the time, they're like, yo, you own a store and you can't fucking respond to a DM? I get 100 DMs a day. Like, right. My chick don't even check them no more because she knows there ain't no chick trying to holler at me. It's just dudes. So it's not like you know what I mean? She knows. She's like, who's that chick DMing you? Never mind. She probably wants 5'6" and like a presto. Like, so it's like she knows already, but those kids get mad at me, and I'm like, man, what the fuck do I owe you? Well, I mean, I'm doing my best to respond as quick as I can, but I'm not gonna pick up your brand or give you a job just because you took 2 seconds out of your day to DM me when you probably DM'd fucking Ronnie or Joe from Kentucky or Derek at Politics or James from Social Status. It's the same thing, like, these kids got to understand, like, it's a long road, but if you're committed to doing something different that doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure the reward at the end will be, all the much greater as long as you, stick to it.
Is there any?
Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No. Hey, talk. We love this.
Yes.
Is there any concern on your end or anybody on Concepts about possibly, considering that the sneaker world or whatever you want to call it is going so young now? Are you guys worried that you guys might be creating collaborations for a specific age group? Because I don't know if like a younger generation will respect a 991 or like a 997, things like that. They're just looking for Ultra Boost and Yeezys and things like that. Yeah,
I think there's definitely a line to walk, but I also think there's a younger sneaker consumer that, and this is funny because I know that it you don't see it as much, but there's a younger sneaker consumer that respects kind of the OGs a lot. Like if you look at Cars and Virgil, they've been around for a long time. It wasn't really just like Virgil just popped up overnight. He's just prominent in the headlines now because of his affiliation with Nike and obviously Off-White being booming, but he's been doing his thing for quite some time in cars. I mean, I used to follow him from when he was, a graffiti artist, when I never even had heard of these characters and the X's and things like that. So I think there are people that understand what it takes to get to this point, and they respect what those guys like and admire. And for us to do like a 991 or something like that, I don't think it's, I don't want to put it out there on a pedestal as a statement. I just think that it's kind of paying homage to maybe a different time frame. But, for the guys over in like the UK and such, that's still like a big shoe for them. So we're doing that more or less to kind of involve everyone. And we want it to be something for the people that just strike out all the time too. Like there's a lot of shoes that we do, like a Mephisto. It was an expensive shoe. It wasn't for anybody. Like I can't pull them off, but I respected what it is, and especially the craftsmanship coming from a company like that. But we want to do stuff for those people that kind of maybe don't want to get caught up in a Cars or Yeezy raffle and things like that. They just want to get dope shoes that they think are for them. And there's something for everybody. While it doesn't fit with, what I would align with, popular politics, it's still like great shoes, and there's consumers out there that are into that. I mean, fuck, man, if you're telling me dudes rock them Balenciaga S shoes, then there's got to be something for everybody, right? Because that's just
awful.
That's not my flavor, but I mean, people are rocking them right now, and they're winning. So I mean, there's like a lot of shit out there. It's just a matter of when you look back and I see concepts 15 years from now, and whoever takes the torch from me and goes on and does whatever they're going to do with it, I would love to see it all kind of at least make sense. It doesn't mean it has to mean something to everyone, but at least it's not questionable. Like we haven't done shit that, Crocs was itching to do a collab with us. It almost happened.
Oh, really?
One of my guys, man, I love him, man. He he was like, "Yo, I think we should do it," and I was like, I don't really see where you're going with this. I get and even if you look at the Monarch,
All right, good, because that was what I was going to ask about, and that was a good segue right into that. So talk about that a little bit, because we saw your comments on Full Size Run, so we need some information here.
Yeah, so again, I can't go enough to kids that want to see this as a career choice. Like, it's never going to be what you think it is, and for us to work on the Monarch was obviously, a great opportunity. And it took me a while to kind of get my head around it, because I've never been a Monarch guy, even though I got close friends that actually love them. My dad rocks them religiously, so maybe that's the stigma I can't get past. But when we started working on it, we were really knocking our heads trying to figure out what to do with it. And we didn't want it to seem like we were making fun of it. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's the most, popular Nike shoe I think of all time as far as, the global population is concerned. But it's also cool in my world because of the dad shoe stigma. And I don't get how dad anything is cool. I don't understand. So I was trying to wrap my head around it, because like I said, my dad actually wears them. I know dudes say that, but
right.
My stepdad's 6'4". He's a big dude. He rocks those because they come in whiffs. So I'm over here you want me to do what now? Wait, I'd love to do a Spiridon. I'd love to do a 97.
Ooh,
and I'm over here fucking with the Monarch. So, when it came time, what was discussed, and without saying too much about what happens behind closed doors, but what was discussed is does it really make sense for concepts to align with a shoe that on its own it's already crushing life? Like, that shoe selling millions and millions of units. Like,
Right.
What's the point of us doing that? It can only, it's not going to help or enhance it at all. Granted, we know there's like a small elite club of trendy guys running around rocking them, but still. So that was kind of where my head was at. Like, let's leave that alone for now and maybe try to get on the books and do some other stuff. And if it's good, it's good. Like I told you guys earlier, like, this stuff I've been on for years, so it's not necessarily like it's time sensitive. So if that should ever come out, maybe it'll be when the time is right. But right now, I just didn't feel like it was the best time frame to do so.
Well, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Ryan Swinger. Like, he's a person on Instagram who, I mean, he wears New Balance, Asics, Concepts, things like that all the time. And I know he is going to flip hearing these stories from you.
What's his name?
Ryan Swinger.
Oh, yeah, man, we talk all the time. He's fucking, he knows his shit. Oh, absolutely. He's a great dude.
Oh, okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I try to tell him as much as possible. He actually, like, yeah, he's even got me a few followers, I think.
Oh, really?
He's on the money, man. I see every time he comments, I get like a bunch of people asking new shit. So
yeah, we talk all the time, and he listens to the show all the time, and he's just, he's like one of those. He's a dad, and he's just a cool cat. He's one of those Instagram. He's an Instagram account that, like, I look forward to. It's not over the top. And it's stuff that we can all rock and that we all relate to. So I just want to make sure I brought him up, talking to you, because he's a cool cat, and he's going to lose his mind hearing these stories.
Doesn't know how to tie his shoes,
he's great, man. He
Yeah.
gets it.
Yeah. Dubai.
Yes.
What was behind opening the store in Dubai?
Money kicks.
I mean, we know.
It's a collab with Money Kicks.
We know Dubai is just the land of money. We know that, but there's just so many other places. Concepts, isn't everywhere in the United States. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, man, they went around the world. What was the decision behind that?
Well, again, I hate to sound too. I don't want to sound like elitist by any means, but we thrive on kind of having this underlying luxury theme, and we felt going there would kind of put an exclamation point on it. Also, my boss is Muslim, so he has a tie-in to that culture, and we have some friends that went to I think they went to BU. So they went to college here, and they had been discussing that for years. When we went over there, and it took me a few trips to kind of get my sea legs about me and understand how things work over there and what happens. We figured out that that we would be a great fit over there. It would take some time, but we wanted to be the first to plant the flag there. One thing I've noticed is when you come to a place like New York, or you go to LA, Miami, Chicago, wherever, there's already people that are there doing their thing. So you might add to popular culture, but you're not really, at the forefront of it. And for us to go there, we got to do that. So those are the places we'll be looking to expand in, that are kind of behind the curtain a little bit, and that you don't see, but that when all is said and done, people will know that we were kind of behind the rush that follows, or that slowly ensued thereafter. We're opening Shanghai this year as well, and then there's one place I got my heart set on that I hope happens. That'll be super off the beaten path, but we feel like will be beneficial, to us and to the consumer. But everything in the U.S. we're going to leave alone. We feel like we've got enough coverage here. We'll do some pop-ups and try to cause some noise when it makes sense. But for us, we feel like everybody's kind of getting their fill elsewhere, and we don't want to just be another, transplant that shows up, thinks that they, deserve to steal consumers from the guys that have been hard working and created something on their own. So, in a nutshell, that was what Dubai was for us. It just kind of, it aligned on a few points, made sense, and I think long term it's going to be bigger than, we could have imagined. It's just about being patient and waiting it out.
What kind of challenges are involved in going into places like Dubai and China? I mean, because you have, religious issues and government issues and that kind of stuff. Anything that's really a big deal, or?
Not necessarily. For Dubai, the challenge is that, to your point, there's a ton of money over there, but weather and just kind of, being able to get whatever you want whenever you want, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a big sneaker line. So to get people to form a line is, they're a lot smaller in comparison to what you see in the States. But I also think that it's just opening up a whole new world for us. Like, even in terms of collaborations and such, there's a lot more inspiration I could pull from there than, saying I've never been there. There's just so much cool culture and architecture there that every time I go, it's just mind-blowing. So there hasn't been too many challenges with that, other than just trying to develop a sneaker base like we have in the States, because we were just spoiled. We went over and we're like, oh man, you're gonna have 3,000 kids in line for this and that, and there's not even 3,000 sneaker kids there yet. But they do have Soul DXB, which is a big sneaker. Hey, I'm on the phone. Sorry, my kid's playing Overwatch. So yeah, I think there's a lot there, and in time it'll be a huge part of who we are. I just think we have to show discipline right now and kind of wait it out and help develop that consumer and get them to understand, not that they have to conform to what happens in the U.S., but just that, it'll develop in time, I guess, is a long-winded answer. There's definitely been some issues over there, just trying to get certain product and things like that, but we brought Tier Zero to the GCC, which is like the Middle Eastern region, so they do get Tier Zero level product there, but even for something like Off-White, we weren't allowed to get it over there just because there wasn't enough made or something to that effect. So hopefully in time that'll change, but outside of that, it's good. And for China, to be perfectly honest with you, I haven't been yet because I've been traveling elsewhere, so just phone conversations as of yet. I'm a super picky food eater, so I hope that they have chicken steak and protein shakes for me over there, because that's pretty much all I eat. I don't eat seafood, eggs, or anything like that. So I
have a couple friends who live there and teach English there, man. There's plenty of stuff. There's a lot of stuff's Americanized over there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have a contributor to the podcast that lives over there. His name's Jay Shuang, and he's in China, and he's a super big sneakerhead over there. Shanghai Soul on Instagram, and
you'll have no problem selling product in Shanghai. No. Trust me. I mean, unless you got LeVar Ball's kids in there trying to steal it.
Yeah, right. I mean, from what I heard, that's been the sentiment. It's for me, all food jokes aside, I'm excited. I think that it'll be good, although I personally, like I said, my involvement in what we do here gets hindered when we have to take the time to go run and operate a store and get it up and going. It's a lot of work. So Dubai, if you look at what was happening with concepts along that time frame, things were slightly different, and I think it was noticeable that in my absence, things were moving in a different direction and shifting, because I was spending a lot of time over there getting that done. Good news is I don't think I'll have to devote as much time to Shanghai. So I think this is going to be a pretty amazing year for Concepts as a brand and as a whole. And I think we got some of the best stuff we've had probably ever coming out this year. So it's all good news. But I think, to your question earlier, with everything going on and too many collabs and this, that, and the third, we knew that we couldn't leave anything to chance right now. So we're coming into it super humble, but, ready for war.
So going back to your Tier Zero account or Tier Zero thing, there's a very big release this week to Tier Zero, the Air Jordan 4 Levi's. And are those only releasing at your Concepts Dubai store, or are they releasing in New York and Boston as well?
I think the greatest thing that's ever happened for me is not working in the store anymore. So I don't know the answers to all that stuff, because I used to lie and be like, I don't know. And then, you know, people would be like, yo, just saw you over there. I actually have no clue about any sneaker drops, especially of that magnitude anymore. So I don't know, but I think we were on the list, judging by the texts I've been getting for both stores. And I know for the coat, it's just going to be us, Boston and New York, because we've been, you know, supporters of Levi's for a long time. So I know they hit us up, and there's very few stores that are getting the jacket. I don't know how many are getting the shoe, though, to be honest with you.
So
what do y'all think of those? I think the black one's a little nicer. I have too many blue denim shoes from way back. So
I want the denim. I want these denim 4s so badly.
Yeah, I want them both, but I want them both because I want to do something to them.
Okay,
like
that's fine.
I want to distress them.
Yeah,
it gives me the opportunity to be creative with my own shoe.
That I like.
Yeah. I like that.
So I have one more question to wrap up, because you talked about inspirations, and it's not every day or very often that Arizona gets inspired shoes. So what was the inspiration behind the Lake Havasu?
Yeah, so that one's a little bit more self-explanatory than the others, because we actually got to help tell that story. When we were looking at Made in UK, I wanted to do something that. So when we did the Diodora, the reason why we did Lyra, the reason why we did Rat Pack was because they were made in Italy. Mm-hmm. So it was a chance to do something that wasn't Boston centric, but that tied into us one way or another. Those are a little bit more loose, but here I like the idea of something having like a UK US tie-in. So when we found out the first London Bridge was actually, I can't even believe it, man, but I guess it was broken down piece by piece and sold to, you know, a millionaire. I don't think he was a billionaire at that time, but tycoon over here, to be shipped over on barges and reassembled with numbered pieces. I just was like mind boggled. I'm like, wait a second. So the first London Bridge is actually not even in London, it's in Arizona. And I just couldn't, for the life of me, understand why this guy would spend this much money to take a bridge and just rebuild it, especially with the means of how he had to transport it. And it was like kind of all puzzle pieced together, and they had to inscribe the number of each one and where it went. I just was like mind boggled. I still can't get over it. Like, it doesn't even seem real. So I just thought the story was too good to be true. So pretty simple, and in the box will kind of speak to that story a little bit more. But that was it. We only did 250 pairs, so we tried to number each box as such, but there was a hidden fee that came with that, and we tried to keep the cost of everything down. So again, like, if the boxes are too much and I can't eat them, then I'm not gonna upcharge the customer just for the sake of doing so, unless it makes sense, where it's like a lost package or something along that line. But we did a whole, I don't think anybody's even hip to this, but if you look at the Tyrion, which was the first New Balance we did, we've actually alluded, there's newspaper clippings in each box that line the lid, and each one of those clippings alludes to what was coming next. So we've actually dropped a hint from January on of every single shoe that we were going to do this year, including the Lake Havasu. We kind of like those little hidden things. Again, it's something that even if you can't make an interactive build out, but you supported it by default, it's kind of a reward there for the customer that's, you know, put his faith into us. So there's actually a story. We talked about the hyenas way back in January. So if a kid was paying attention, which, you know, what's funny, not a single kid picked up on it. So it's kind of like a waste, but we still took the time to do it. We thought it was cool because I think back when in the SB days and such, like, kids really were just like so, you know, enveloped in stuff that they always looked for reasons. There's a kid out there that told me that the luxury goods and the rosé are actually a Dunkin' Donuts collab, which I thought was pretty funny because if you look at the colors, and I was like, I didn't really get that. So, I mean, there are kids out there that really take the time to just like look for hidden meanings and find all that. and we literally laid it out there in plain sight. Even the Esplanade has, I think on the bottom, the base of the box, there's Harry Houdini in handcuffs under the water, because back in, whenever he was alive, he actually jumped off the bridge right near the store in Harvard, and did one of his first tricks or whatever, where he had to get out of handcuffs and such. We always got these little hidden meanings, but we thought the newspaper clippings would be funny, and nobody noticed. So one of the newspaper clippings is about a millionaire tycoon that bought this bridge and like reassembled it in Arizona or whatever. But yeah, that one was pretty literal, and we just loved the colorways, and we thought it came to life. And to be honest, I've never wore that shoe, and I wasn't really too keen on it in the beginning, but it's grown on me over time. It's kind of one of those ones that I'm like, oh shit, this is pretty dope. So,
well, and it's a huge party lake. So and it's a huge party lake.
I'll wear them, guys.
So if you guys rent a yacht to go down and sail Lake Havasu, then let us know. We'll be there.
All right.
I would love to, man. I thought about doing a hot air balloon too. I heard that's like a big thing out there.
Oh,
what's that?
A huge thing.
The hot air balloon.
Oh yeah,
I got to do that.
They just had a festival here.
I'll come visit. I'll come kick it with y'all soon, man.
Oh,
absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah, we tell everybody who comes on the show, like,
place.
if you in the area, we'll buy you a beer or something, man. Let us know.
Pabst.
No, it's not gonna be one, man.
Oh no! I'm gonna tell you this: you come to Arizona, we owe you a lot of beers because these stories are great. So we're gonna let you go now because I appreciate you graciously giving us this amount of time on a Sunday. I know you said you got your kid there and everything, and the stories you've told and the things you've shared with us, and how humble you are is inspiring to us. To keep going and keep doing what we're doing. And, like Ryan said before, he's wearing When Pigs Fly right now, and I'm wearing Kennedy Hyannis. And it's almost like if I was interviewing Jordan today, I'd wear Jordans. And if I'm interviewing Deon Point, I'm wearing some Concepts collabs.
Yep.
So,
and also,
it,
just something to take back, because I'm sure you talk to the owners and the employees and whatnot. Just something to take back to the store with you. When I order my When Pigs Fly, they didn't come with the, I don't know if you want to call them lace locks or whatever, but the little pig logo. Literally called the store or emailed that same day, and they had them in the mail immediately, and they got to me like 3 days later.
Oh, yeah.
So the customer service with Concepts, man, is unrivaled in terms of these type of stores where normally you call and the employees couldn't be more bothered by you calling them. You know what I'm saying? So just something to take back to the store, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime I've ever called,
appreciate it too, my man.
They've been super friendly, super helpful, and that's always been one of my biggest reasons for.
And Boston has a reputation of not being nice people as a city. You know what I mean?
I know. Tell me about it. We've had some tough. There's been some guys over there that have been they've been a little tough to get in line, but we're trying for sure. We're in progress. That's what I always say.
That's all good, man. We appreciate it. And we appreciate. What's funny is I appreciate conversation with somebody, and you know what? We didn't talk about Yeezys.
Yes.
And I mean,
yeah, me too.
And after some more collabs come out, maybe we got to get you on the show again to tell us more stories. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Absolutely, brother.
Well, there's still about
to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's still about 3 dozen collabs that we didn't talk about already.
Yeah.
3 Lies being one of them.
I promise you that. There's nothing that doesn't have one.
So next time we'll talk about the 3 Lies.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Awesome. All right, take it easy.
Good ones there too.
All right, take it easy,
Thank
Deon.
you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Oh, I thought you were stopping something. Yeah, this is my favorite show.
This is my favorite show of all time. Bruh.
My favorite show. No disrespect to the other guests we had on.
Anybody. All right. But, bruh, them stories are fire.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire. Period. All right. I didn't even know where the Yankees logo came from. All right. And hearing where the logo of the Yankees came from.
It's not so much that to me, like, because you can look that up on the internet and find that out. It's the story that they came.
Yeah, it's the work that they put into it. It could have easily just been Statue of Liberty. He could have just ran with that. Yeah, sure, Statue of Liberty. Even though we knew it didn't really look Statue of Liberty. But, bruh, When Pigs Fly story? Come on, bruh.
You know what's kind of crazy, too? Right. Well, yeah, that.
Bruh, come on.
What's kind of crazy, too, is that a lot of these stores have enough respect for each other that he almost felt bad infringing on using the Tiffany blue because he didn't want to infringe on, Nikki Diamonds or whatever you want to call them, Diamond Supply Man. So that to me that was interesting too.
And I'm sure there's other people who feel the same way about him, but we haven't talked to them yet, and to know that he would take that in consideration, because there's plenty of teal, Tiffany, freshwater, whatever color you want to call that out there. So
I mean, he obviously doesn't own, he doesn't have a trademark or whatever on the color, and the color's not even his. It's the Tiffany company.
He could have easily called it Tiffany.
So I mean, that's pretty dope.
I'm appreciative. I am appreciative of this conversation, and one of those things about having a podcast is we would have never been able to talk to any of these people we've talked to, like have a conversation. They might like a pic of ours one day. Or
we bring a good product to the market. Not everyone can do this. All right.
And
this is creating content. Your boy Button always talks about the creators. We are the creators. All right. People can't. Not everybody can do this.
And I want to make sure that we express our listeners how appreciative we are to them.
Yes.
And I know a lot of times we can be very boisterous and boisterous, but we are very humble that people take the time out of their day to listen. And for him to take the time,
especially for 2 hours,
for
like
2
most of the
hours.
guests we've had have been 2 hours on the phone,
and for him to even talk to us for 2 hours with his kid in the background and stuff like that on the phone, and he's under the weather.
They're playing video games. That keeps kids' attention. I mean.
And he's under the weather and been traveling.
Yeah,
I am grateful, and I can't wait to post this. Like
I can't wait to listen to it again because I want to hear the stories again.
I want to hear the stories again. That was phenomenal. All right. Is there anything else, you guys? Anything? Nothing.
Steelers are down 7.
I know.
They
came back.
They came back.
That's the greatest
28-21
Sneak This episode of all time.
It's got to rank up there. And now we have one possibly next week.
I rank things differently. Like I rank the ones with guests separate than the ones with no guests. Because it's two separate things.
Because I feel like we get better.
Naturally, people that listen are going to want to hear stories like that from those dudes.
I feel like we get better each guest. So
this is my favorite episode.
And I love how we ask questions. It's easy to have somebody on and say, "What's your grail?"
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ever. You will never hear me ask a guest that. Never. All right. What do you love? Like you'll never hear that. I want to know the process of you doing your job.
I mean, if you want to get people on like Penny and some of them people, then you got to ask them stuff like that because they don't work in the shoe industry.
Yes, but I'm saying like Ryan asked him what was the collaboration you're most proud of. That's it's a good way to what's your best. There's not to boost.
Well, you would get a different answer from him anyways because he says he doesn't wear his own shit. So
that was surprising to me. That was surprising.
His own shoe grail will be different. Man, but he told you anyway.
Well, you don't listen to our podcast. So yeah,
you're right.
You guys have so much in common.
But I do play it on silent in the background to get the view, and I like it.
So I guess that's it, man. I can't wait to edit this. Like I
can't wait to listen to it tomorrow.
I'm protecting this USB drive.
There's a lot of people that do stuff like this and don't, like he said, he don't wear his own shoe. I don't want to listen to my own show. I don't want to listen to myself, really.
And until we can talk to a Virgil or a PSNY or any of these other collaborators or a Ronnie or anybody else, I don't know that. I know what Deon does. I know what Concepts does. And I'm through the roof right now.
Matt is the only other person we've talked to who's worked on the actual collaborations, right? So, yeah, I mean, we only had one other one.
Ooh, I'm hyped.
Tony D has a collaboration.
Okay.
But he's not. I'm talking about like the director of a brand making.
Okay,
that was fire.
Ryan's just being Ryan.
Actually, you know what's funny is I think all those joints with the Saucony did with all them people all sell for over retail now in the resale market.
That's a fact.
Collabs.
Let's go ahead and end this.
And it is collabs.
Hey, do what you got to do.
And he did.
No, and it is collabs.
Okay, he's from Boston.
Now he is from Boston.
The word is from collaboration.
Collab.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, we know where it comes from.
Why are we acting like collab is a thing then?
The word stems from collaboration of the Latin meaning of
collaboration.
It's collab.
Let's make one thing straight.
What are you
Deon
talking
Point
about?
calls it collab.
It's a collab.
It's collab. Today, it's collab and forever on from this point on. Ryan, anything else?
That's a Collab yourself.